Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to Little Steps Facebook Live. My name is Nikki and I just want to give you a few friendly reminders before we get started with today's topic. Now, Little Steps is live twice a month and today we are in Hong Kong. If you wish to be reminded of our Facebook Live sessions directly to your phone, please go to our Facebook events calendar and click the ones that you're interested in. Don't forget to subscribe to all our weekly newsletters across all our cities in Asia, from Hong Kong to Singapore to KL and beyond. The link is in the description down below. Now, please remember we are live, so please interact with us. Feel free to ask us any questions, add comments, and we can get back to you during and after the session. Now, just a few friendly reminders also from Little Steps. We have some hot off the press news. We are in partnership with the Grounds, and we have 2 days of family movies coming up. So book your tickets before they sell out. And also, of course, we have our Little Steps 10-year anniversary, and the website celebration continues. Now we have a Ritz-Carlton staycation giveaway as well, and the link will be in the comments. Now let's get started with our topic. Today we are with IMS. IMS is a dual language school here in Hong Kong, where Chinese culture and language are integrated throughout every aspect of the child's experience. Montessori is a great environment to learn languages because of the personalized learning and the many opportunities to use more than one language in the classroom. Today, we are chatting with IMS to learn more about how Montessori and traditional education differ in their approaches to teaching Chinese. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's guests from IMS. We have Karen Ann, IMS school founder. We have Nancy Chu, IMS early childhood Chinese teacher. And we have Ada Wang, IMS primary Chinese teacher. Welcome all. So as usual, we will be splitting up today's discussion in two main topics. The first topic will be about IMS and the Montessori approach. And the second topic will be about understanding the Chinese curriculum at IMS. So very much looking forward to get started. So Karen, let's get started with you. Can you please tell us all about IMS? Describe the audience what type of school IMS is, please.
Sure. Let me just try and get in the middle of the camera.
You're perfect. You're perfect in the camera. Great lighting. Thank you.
We're so happy to be here today and tell you about mainly about how we do Chinese, but let me talk a little bit about our school first. IMS, the International Montessori School. We started the school in 2002, so we're coming on to our
Congratulations.
Thank you. And when we started, it was really a bunch of parents who were looking at what's available in Hong Kong and what's missing. And based on that, we did research and we decided we wanted to start a Montessori school. And not just a Montessori school, but a Montessori school with a very strong dual language focus. So where we are now, 20 years later, is we have 4 campuses on Hong Kong Island. We really serve children aged 2 to 12, so we end at the end of primary, and our children go to all the international secondary programs in Hong Kong. And when we started the school, really our objective was threefold. One was we wanted to do Montessori very well, very authentically, because true Montessorians believe that's how you get the most out of it, and that's what we've always followed, our vision. The second very important part, as I mentioned, is to do a very strong Chinese program. So you'll hear all about that soon. And the third thing we wanted to do was to bring the Montessori primary school program to Hong Kong 20 years ago. We were the first to do it. We are one of the largest in the world, so we do early childhood all the way to the end of the primary. So that's a very quick. Our main campus, our biggest campus where our primary school is in our beautiful corner here in Stanley.
Yes.
So if you have a chance, you can come and.
Can you remind us, the audience as well, where your campuses are, where the 4 campuses are located?
Sure. So our philosophy is 4 corners of Hong Kong Island.
Oh, wonderful.
If you have young kids, you can go to your kindergarten program close to home, and then when they're in primary, they feel like they can travel all the way to Stanley unless you live in the south. So we've got our biggest campus in Stanley, which serves early childhood and primary. And then for the other 3 are just early childhood. We've got one in South Horizons, Apei Chow. We've got one in what we call our mid-levels campus, which is in the Hollywood Road area.
Yes.
And then we've got one on the eastern side, which we call our Aldrich Bay campus. It's
perfect.
Aldrich Bay, Shao Kei Wan.
Yes. And dual language is taught in all 4 campuses?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Perfect.
The entire program.
The entire program. So let's get on to our next question. IMS has put a lot of focus on dual language in addition to its Montessori approach. Why and how has that come about?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think, everybody wants to crack this Chinese puzzle, as we call it.
Of course.
How do you do Chinese in a way that engages children? And I think it has to start with, the school was founded by myself and my partner, Ann Sawyer. So, and she's American, but but having lived in Hong Kong many years, really looking for the Chinese language for her children. I myself, I'm Eurasian, born and raised in Hong Kong. My father's Chinese, my mother's English, and I always grew up just living and speaking the 2 languages. And actually, in my days, very few Eurasian kids spoke Chinese. Now everybody does, and so everybody would look at me and like, how come your Chinese is so good? Cantonese is actually my mother tongue.
Okay.
So I speak to my own kids at home. Of course, we read and write Chinese. So, and as I was growing up, it was just a part of life. We just did it. We didn't think about, why is this so hard? Of course, it's one of the hardest languages. So when we started the school, we thought, how do we do this in a similar way?
Yes.
Create this environment where the children just have it naturally through the people they interact with, through how they do their learning. And one amazing thing about Montessori, when we decided to do a Montessori school, is that Montessori learning uses lots of materials. We'll go into that later.
Yes.
And because of that, it makes learning of Chinese not just paper and pencil or just listening to the teacher. You can do Chinese, in the learning. And the children actually love doing it and repeating it. So the way Montessori does it makes the learning of Chinese or any
language, any
multilingual,
any language,
works really well. So when we honed in onto that, we thought this is where we want to be. So, and 20 years later, I think we found that we've done really well. Our children really naturally,
No, I would agree 100%. I think, having been a teacher myself in the past, and I think teaching a language is so much easier when you have props and you're actually doing stuff rather than just showing them a book. It's a much more interactive way, and both yourself and the children, it's a much more enjoyable experience for both parties, I find. And the younger, the better to start a language always. So yes. So for those who are not truly aware of the Montessori method, can you describe it to me? And can you describe to me how is it different from other environments?
So that's, I think it's going to start us off with that.
Yes. Okay. So I will start with a very young age, from the children from 2 years old. They come to school, and the Montessori is not really a typical traditional school with the teachers stand on the stage and the children sit at their table on their chair, just listen and write it down. No, it's not. It's a very traditional way. So in Montessori environment, the children come in, they're full of cheerful, they're full of like all these happy energies coming. They know what they need to do. They come into the classroom, they know the routines, they can choose their own materials on the shelves, and they know where their tables are. They know they need to return the materials back on the shelf. So everything little by little and small step by small steps, they are picking up. They are trying to build up this routine. They are trying to build up this confidence and independence by coming to school regularly. And also in the Montessori teachers, we guide them. We introduce them different materials, how they work on different materials. So sometimes we will sit at the table with one child, we will give the presentation, and the other children, they would be choosing a puzzle. They like to work on the puzzles. And some children, they like to work on the language materials, like putting the object matching to the cards. And some children, they just want to do some flower arranging or do some practical life or just to practice button up their own cardigans or zip up their jackets. They like to all these little tiny things. They want to be independent. So in the Montessori environment, we always remind ourselves, we are looking at the children, the very young children. They want us to help them to do things by themselves. We want to give them the independence. We want to give them the freedom, and we want to give them all the possibility they can explore their strength and their capabilities as well.
Perfect. Just a follow-up question on that. So, as I said in the intro, it is a very personalized learning. As from my hear to your description, that in the class you'll have several children doing different things at the same time.
Yes,
that's wonderful. So do you do kind of an assessment on what you think works best with each child?
Yes, of course. There's some children, they prefer working on their own. They prefer sitting on their own chair, and they like to manipulate all these objects or these language materials on their hands. They don't like to, to have more interaction with the teachers. And because every child is different. Some children, they always seek for your attention. They always want you to interact with them. But every child is different. Some children, they are so fascinated by the language material. They want to learn all the names. They want to learn all the different names of the animals. They want to know the vehicles' names, everything in Chinese. And some children, they just want to practice on practical life, like very tiny little things. So everyone's different, but we observe, we see, and we only step in when they need help. Because we know by practicing and repetition, they are building up their skills, they are building on their hobbies, they are building on concentration with all these repetitions.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, you say that Montessori does a lot to arouse the child's interest. Can you explain how it does that?
I can add on.
Sorry, we're moving on to Ada. Hi, Ada. So we had some technical difficulties. So one of our camera fell out, so we had to squeeze two in, but we're happy that we can all find each other. So hi, Ada. Did you want me to repeat that question, or did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard. It's about arouse interest, and that's what we're doing in the classroom. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
So yeah, parents say, like Nancy mentioned, and also Karen mentioned a lot about materials.
Yes.
Like we know, like materials itself, it can teach. But how it teach, why it arise the interest, it's because children are truly active and engaged while they learning. So as a Montessori guide, what we do is we actually present and show the materials. And the children feel like, okay, I'm the master of learning. So they are using the material and they learn from that. So that's one way. And also because, like Nancy mentioned, those materials are all presented on the shelves. So the children can freely choose those materials. And we, as a adults in the classroom, we have a full 3-year program. So we know we need to cover those topics within the 3 years. So we know okay, how many topics are at this age level, what topic I should present. It might be some children really interested in biology or in leaves. And then he really wants to do more about leaves, the shapes of the leaves, the function of the leaves. And some boys really like dinosaurs. There are different interests. Then we never stop it. So it's okay, so if you want to know more about leaves, let's explore what are different shapes. Then it will connect to the geometry. And so what's the function of the leaves? It will connect to biology. So you can see it starts from their interest, but we link it to our curriculum.
Yeah.
And because we fully understand and we know okay, which topics we need to cover. And because it's mixed age, I think it's not all the schools doing that. We are in the same classroom with the children for 3 years. So that means the children are having both teachers for 3 years.
You really build up a trust and a connection with the children. And they also feel more comfortable to be more curious, ask more questions. No, I completely understand. So you have 2 teachers in the class. Both both Chinese teachers or one English, one Chinese?
Yeah, one English speaking, one Chinese speaking, and we're just really like a family.
Yeah.
And the children were like, so they feel comfortable to make mistakes.
Of course, yes.
And also they feel comfortable to tell us like, okay, what I want to explore. And we feel comfortable as adults to tell them like, okay, I might need to explore with you. And in this way, they feel like, okay, yeah, everyone's learning. That's where also the learning interest is there. And
absolutely.
I also tell the children like, okay, about dinosaurs, I might not know as much as you do. Let's explore together. So
no, absolutely. And in this way, you also know how far you can push your children, your students, because you've taught them already for several years, so you know their limitations. You know where they can be pushed and where they need more guidance. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So for those who are just joining our Facebook Live, today we are here with IMS. We're discussing learning Chinese using the Montessori method. We're here with a panel of 3 from IMS, and we're now going on to our second topic. Our first topic was regarding about IMS and the Montessori approach, and we're now getting on to our second and already final topic, which is dual language curriculum at IMS. So we're going straight in. I think, Karen, it is your turn now. Hello again. We're gonna be going on to dual language curriculum in IMS. Why do you think it's beneficial to introduce bilinguals at an early age? Can you talk us through the bilingual education at IMS and how it is different from other bilingual schools?
Yes. So, I mean, I think many people automatically believe that starting early is better, right? And obviously the children, if they start with, we always tell parents who have 2 languages at home, mom speak your language, dad speak your language. And as a result, the children actually really do pick up the language. So, mirroring that at school is what we wanted to do. My personal story is I speak Chinese at home to my kids, but my husband's from Switzerland and he has spoken French to them from 0, never slipping. And my kids speak French to their father, even though we live in Hong Kong. So it really can work. So starting early for the acquisition of the language is obviously very powerful. But learning 2 languages or more languages from a young age also has a lot of additional benefits, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of research about neural networks being built and cognitive development and code switching and all that stuff. So,
and I think also just confidence as well in children, knowing to be able to speak in a different language. I remember going as a young child and speaking English at the age of 4. I felt so confident and happy with myself to be able to speak in another language. And I think that does very much in children as well, to give them that confidence to be able to communicate in more than one language. It's
and connecting with other people. So
exactly.
The benefits of more than one language are well known. So how do we do it at IMS is different from some other systems? Well, I think that, as we said, we start very early, and this whole immersion, the 2 teachers in the classroom all the time. At IMS, Chinese is not a subject. It is a way of life. It is a way of learning everything. Both teachers are equal partners in the classroom, so the children feel that. As we talked about before, one of the very different things about Montessori is that we're a mixed age classroom. So children age 3 to 6 are all together, age 8 to 9 are all together, etc. 9 to 12. So the teachers, as Ada said, they're with them for 3 years.
That's beautiful. I really love that.
In all learning, that's amazing. But in Chinese particularly, right? You develop this very intimate relationship with your Chinese teacher. And that really carries you. You can talk to them. You don't need to reassess every year. They become your Chinese family member. I think that's very different about IMS.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this learning through materials, like not just textbooks. Having, like, if you walk in our classroom, the whole classroom is full of materials for learning all kinds of things in a very structured way. Like the curriculum is very structured, but in Chinese, what we did, when we started the school, there was no Chinese Montessori curriculum or language materials.
At all?
Not really. I mean, there was.
I mean, I know you started 20 years ago, so I imagine that it was very fresh then as well. And now it's because now it's so common, and well, you were a pioneer.
Well, before us, there was quite a bit in Taiwan.
Yeah, yes.
But they have a phonetic system, which is different from what we do. Yeah. So we really took the Montessori principles of materials, of learning through multisensory, using all the senses and we created these materials, and they just work wonders. So I think those two things, when other people come to us, we're like, wow, when you teach Chinese, you have all these props at your fingertips. How wonderful. So that is really something special to see.
Absolutely. Do you see in your classrooms that children of an older age help the younger children and vice versa in your classrooms?
Yes, definitely. So that mixed age classroom.
Yeah. I'm very curious about that. Yes, sorry.
Every child has the chance to be the youngest, but also to grow up to be the oldest. So one example is, in our kindergarten, age 3, 4, 5, at the beginning, the first time the child goes to the washroom, the teachers take the 3-year-olds.
Yeah, of course.
But the next time, the 5-year-old will take the 3-year-old.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, by the third time, they're going on their own because we're all about the independence and responsible and all that. So, and that happens a lot. And it's not only in, help being a leader, having a chance. It's also in the learning. So, for example, if a 4-year-old sees a 5-year-old read, the 4-year-old will really want to read.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. Because you've got that peer pressure, of course. You want to impress, and then also I can imagine that the older ones want to protect the little ones, and then you kind of get this beautiful family and connection with the kids, because usually you do have very separate age groups, and I think putting them all together gives this more type of family feel to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the whole beauty of the Montessori and how she set up her first school way back. Yeah. That's another story we can talk about another day.
So, how does IMS use materials to teach Chinese? Can you break us down a little bit more what materials you're using exactly?
Yeah, so we'd like to just give a taste of the different age groups. So Nancy's going to start first. She's
perfect.
Works with very young children.
Yeah. Yes. So I really work with very young children. They come in at IMS when they are only 2 years old. Imagine these little young spirits when they come into a new world, and some of them have never experienced in Chinese environment. First time they hear this language, they will be like, wow, what are you talking? I don't understand a single word. But it's okay because they see a smile, greet them in the morning. I would say the English, as we mentioned, we have English teacher and Chinese teacher in the classroom. So the English teacher will be saying, good morning or good afternoon. How are you today? As me as a Chinese teacher, I'll be saying, 早安，早上好，你今天好吗? So it's like the two language is really spontaneously floating in the classroom. As me, early childhood teacher, and I only teach children 2 to 3 years old. But every morning, I also see these 3, 4, 5, 6 years old children coming to school, and they were all my students before. So every day, I still remember their names. I still remember every single one of them. So I still greet to them. I say good morning to them. So it's becoming like a really like a sweet, very warm family. And for some children, yes, they don't have the Chinese background, but it's okay. Sometimes they're scared, they don't understand, and they feel overwhelmed. But as Chinese teacher, we do use a lot of body language.
Yeah.
For example, we always say 请换鞋子. Then I will be pointing at my shoes. Means please change your shoes.
Yeah.
Please line up and wash your hands. They know 请排队洗手. This is washing their hands. And then sometimes I will say, please stand up. 请站起来. I will use another poster body language to tell them, oh, this is what 邱老师 is trying to ask me to do. This is what
So a
she's
lot of physical cues.
yeah, of course. And a lot of time also in the environment, we always create this very rich dual language environment in the classroom. So the English teacher would be giving, sometimes she will be giving one presentation to a child, and I will be giving another presentation to the child, which is in Chinese. English teacher will be English, and I will be using Chinese. So the two language is spontaneously floating in the classroom. So maybe you see there's a girl who is matching the replicas of pig to the picture. Maybe that's a picture. So that's a girl. She was trying to, I gave her a presentation before. I introduced her the names of these animals, the elephant is 大象, pig is 猪. So she remember these names, vocabularies, and she's trying to match the replicas, the objects to the pictures. So she would link by using these materials and hearing the language and become a solid image, memories in her mind. And a lot of time, I always have this funny moment with the children. So they always would like to tell me, my father said that is a helicopter. And I will be saying, yes, it's called 直升机. And the child will be saying, no, it's not that. My dad said it's helicopter. And I will be saying, yeah, 直升机, 直升机. And somehow the child, sometimes they get really, really angry at me because I don't get their points. And they're trying to convince me it's helicopter, it's not 直升机. So there's so many funny moments, like very, very interesting moment between me and the children.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just have like conversation. The child would be talking, would be sharing her whole daily life to me. And I just respond to her in Chinese, but we are talking complete different things. But they feel so comfortable coming to me. They feel so comfortable as me using Chinese, but they don't really mind because they know what I'm trying to tell them, what I'm trying to teach them and to show them this is a language we're using in the classroom. And also, we also remind them there's also a lot of classroom language in the classroom. So, the younger children, they all get excited easy. They scream, they talk really loud, and I will be using this one. Please use your indoor voice. Indoor voice, 小声，小声一点，小声一点. So they all know. They will say, "Oh, 小声一点点，小声，小声."
Quiet, yeah.
So they all understand. Then they will be lower down their voice because they know what I'm trying, what I'm using. I'm also another bridge for them to build up this interaction with them and into the Chinese as well. And also we sing a lot of songs. We read a lot of books in Chinese. And a lot of time when the children are so into these songs, they would just start making up their own lyrics. Sometimes I would be hearing a boy making "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" into a fruit song, as a pineapple, a strawberry, a peach, and grapes. So they will be using the Chinese words into another song, and they just having fun of themselves in the classroom.
Fantastic, thank you. We have a question from our audience. Let me just put this up. 2 seconds. Let me just find it. Okay, so we have a question here from Leah. Thank you. What would you recommend for Putonghua Korean international family? English is spoken in the house. Should mom and dad speak their own language to the baby, separate from English? That is the question. So I think the question is, should mom and dad speak their own language to their baby because they either speak Korean or Putonghua, or separate from English?
Sure. I'll answer.
Yes, please.
I think parents should speak their mother tongue to their children.
Okay.
You speak the most intimate language for you because that's the thing that you will build the relationship with your child in. If there's a multilingual family, we usually recommend each parent sticking with one language.
Mm-hmm.
Then you really get that traction with the child.
Yeah.
And then, if you're learning English at school or Mandarin at school, let the school find the right school that works with what you're looking for, and let the school do it and support that as best you can. We have many families who may not have Chinese at home, but they do things like trips to Taiwan, or they might have, play dates and stuff like that. And increasing that relevance always helps with the language. But use the language that you love, because you love your children, you want to love them in that language. So, yeah.
Thank you, Leah. We have another question. Fantastic. Keep them coming. We love being interactive. So this question is from Luan Lee. I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. If not, my apologies. We are an English-speaking household. How confused would a 2-3-year-old be if they're sent to a school that speaks a different language? Should we also try to speak more Mandarin to them, or let the school teach Mandarin?
Nancy?
To me, I think it really depends on the language they usually speak in the house, like Karen just mentioned, because the mother tongue is the most powerful language that we can use. We know all these vocabularies, and we know that the grammar structures. We know the best in our mother tongue. So if it's possible, I would say create the strong language environment in the house. If the household is only using English, then I would say maybe you can have, like Karen just mentioned, you can have a play date, and you can have extra activities to reinforce Chinese into child's life. But because language is really about the environment. It's not really about how many activities you go or how many hours you stay at the school that you get a certain vocabulary. It's not really about that.
But if you have a parent who speaks Chinese, please do it.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
That's the most powerful way to get Chinese.
Would you recommend, so if they're an English-speaking household, would you recommend bringing in television, cartoons that are in Chinese to kind of get that language, or songs at home? What kind of materials would you recommend at the home to kind of integrate that language as well? Hi.
No, because we get lots of those questions.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Families that are like from different culture background, and the children actually speaks excellent Chinese. And what they do is, like we said, the parents stick to their mother tongue. It's always encouraged. But if they want to do more extensive reading or storytelling, then I would recommend like podcasting instead of video, because the children will be more concentrated on the listening part. And also, podcasting is like, it's always better if the parents can sit with the children and they listen together, and maybe even let the children to expand. Then in that way, it's still some natural voice from a like first language speaker.
Yes. No, that's
okay. From a first language speaker, and then also the parents can speak to their own language. The language exposure and, like Nancy said, environment is important. But please make sure it's always from some authentic language speakers, like voice or pronunciation. That will be like very helpful.
Fantastic. Thank you. We have one more question coming in. This is great. Gloria Long, again, sorry if I'm not pronouncing these names correctly. Can you explain a little bit more about how Montessori approach can be applied in specific to teach children Chinese characters or writing?
Okay, I think I will. Sorry about this switching.
Oh, I love it. It's like
yes, actually, Nancy talked a lot about building that spoken language at a very young age. When they get into the kindergarten, where they're starting to look at reading and writing, and there's so much foundation in that's important for the child. So, we have to keep building the vocabulary, because that's the basis. So we have all these materials that help to build the vocabulary, and I think we have some images that you might be able to show. So we have a lot of cards that are organized by category, where we have the picture, a flag, and the character, and the child can match it. Here you can see so that's it. That's what I'm talking about.
Perfect,
The children are learning through doing it. They're matching this themselves. They're saying it. They can check their own work with it. That's one of many. Here, the child is actually touching strokes. So we talked about multisensory learning, being able to feel, not just take a pencil and write. In fact, they're not even ready to hold the pencil yet, but they can feel the stroke, and by that they experience strokes on left to right, top to bottom. This is so important in Chinese, and they can be very boring. But how do you make them interesting? So here, the children naturally feel the stroke, then they go and feel the character. So here we have a sandpaper character. The child may not be writing yet, but they felt that show which strokes go after which one.
Yeah.
Core in Chinese. They do it in a way that's fun. Then they use that to build other character pairs. And here we have something where we have a box with all different characters. So when a child, this is a 5-year-old, okay? So when the child does have the vocabulary, they can recognize a lot of characters, they can use this to create their own sentences. Now, does that mean that they're not writing at the same time? No, when they're ready to pick up the pencil, they're using these materials and they're writing.
Yes.
But it's all about, as you can see, it's all about doing Chinese, right?
Yes.
And doing it over and over again. Young children love repeating.
They do, yes.
Chinese is all about repetition. We have these materials that allow the children to just, you show them how to do it, they do it over and over and over. They get to the mastery themselves. It's satisfying, it's enjoyable. So like you set this whole attitude around learning Chinese right from the beginning. And then it just goes from there. So thank you for giving me that question to show what
Absolutely. We have more questions coming in. Again, I love this interaction of our audience. Keep them coming. So we've got another question from Mofei Yang. I have read that the level of depth of mother tongue decides how far kids could go in their second language and the corresponding understanding. Thus, for kids that do not speak English as their native language, but they are sent to an international school since a young age, which use English as the superior medium. Would this affect their ultimate academic understanding and comprehension as they grow older? Do you want me to repeat that question?
So my understanding of the question,
yes.
If I will go ahead, my colleagues, my understanding of the question is that if you're sent to a school which is not teaching in your mother tongue,
yes,
it's going to affect your learning. Okay, so yes. I mean, it depends on how early you go. Right? Okay. If you go early enough, like primary school, early beginning of primary school, then in this case, it's a school, the question is a school that's teaching an international school which uses primarily English, at least most of them, to teach. English is so prevalent that, you know, we have children who come to our school at age 7 from Holland who don't speak English or Chinese, and they get up that curve so fast. So I would say that, you know, within the primary school years, our experience is that the children can access the knowledge. It's fine, you know. I mean, you know, if you were the other way around, you went to a Chinese-based school and you didn't have anything and you were 8 years old, that would probably be a bit harder. Yeah. But children can do amazing things.
No, absolutely. And especially I think with language, the younger they are, the easier it will come to them.
Yeah.
And the more confident they will be, because the older you are, the more nervous you are to kind of make mistakes, and the younger you are, you just want to go with it.
So. Absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, if we have any more questions, keep them coming. I want to thank the 4 questions that we've received so far. Thank you. And we'll get on with our questions. So yeah, but please keep them coming. We love the interactions, and ask any questions that you like while we're live. We can get back to you during the live session. And if you do have any more questions after the session is over, we can get back to you after the session. So feel free to ask any questions at any time. So back to where we were, we are discussing, let me do a little back. We're discussing the dual language curriculum at IMS. And we were discussing the materials that you use to teach Chinese. And now we're going to go, and the question is, how do children learn everything in both languages?
And Ada is going to
Hi, Ada.
show how she does that in the primary school, because there's so much
Yes,
subject matter.
I can imagine.
Yes, so like we said, in early years, like it's already Chinese is everywhere in the environment. But for the early, like the little child, the Chinese is more about their routine life. It's more about practical life. But
Yes.
when they move into primary program, it's more like subject matters and it's more academic. So when they move to primary, we actually have two main parts to integrate Chinese program. One is continue have the Montessori bilingual program. I'm gonna talk about that more later.
Yes.
Another thing new is we do have 45 minutes daily Chinese group lesson.
Oh,
So every day they come in.
oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, and that group lesson we focus more on Chinese literacy, and only in that 45 minutes Chinese lesson actually we do provide textbook and which cooperates well with the local Chinese curriculum or the international Chinese curriculum, depending on the children's background or their needs. And then within that, because we know the children very well, we know when the children are starting from age 6, around age 6, they love group work. So you can see here. So while we deliver those lessons, it's not traditional at all. We really want to take them into groups. They do group activity, like they write together and they discuss together. And we really tailor those curriculum, those knowledge in a way that children feel interested in and they really want to engage and want to do by hand and work together. So that's 45 minutes Chinese lesson. We do have homework and daily dictation, but we do it differently because it's not like a local school. If you like homework is something my teacher want me to do, or I have to do it to pass.
Yes.
So we tell the children actually because you do have homework and because you need that for repetition and you need that for your own learning. So this is a way like for all IMS actually primary students, they understand why they are having homework. You know, that makes a huge difference.
It does.
Yeah, one night you truly know, right? I understand like, oh, I get that because it's my own learning. Sometimes they really ask me, are you sure that's my homework? I say, yeah, that's it's like my work. I say, yeah, so you just get it. So you see, they really truly believe like, okay, that's something I need.
Yeah.
And invitation say, I always talk with them. I said, I never search for a perfect score. I really search for like you practice. And there are some errors, and I feel like, okay, that's why I'm here. I'm helping you with this and helping you with the repetition. So that's 45 minutes Chinese lesson. Like I said, we also still have the bilingual Montessori environment. And that's while they move to primary program, it's more like subject relevant. So we do have math, geometry, geography, biology, history in the classroom. So it is there, and we do cooperate well within both teachers. Like I said, there are like 2 teachers in the classroom. So how we do that is we never merely do a translation because we will lose the children. Like if the children get a presentation in English and then another same presentation in Chinese and it's a translation, then it doesn't make sense for them and it's like, okay, so I need to learn 2 languages. But actually we never do it. How we do is like, for example, I think we showed a picture with long division. We know like children at one level, they need to know about division.
Yes.
There's a whole set of different materials to talk about division in math, Montessori. So I will like talk and then discuss with my partner, and then we both see, okay, so maybe this week she will get a presentation in Chinese about division. What's division? The concept of division. And next week she will get a presentation in English about what's long division. And then we elaborate. So the children really unconsciously building the bilingual mind. She doesn't even like really notice, okay, it's actually 2 languages. I can do math in 2 languages. She may not really notice that, but she knows that, okay, I know the long division and I know that. So with those, math and geometry are more abstract notion concepts we deliver with the Montessori material. And with the culture like history or biology, geography, we get their interest by the stories because our children are really having good foundation of Chinese. And thank you for the early childhood teachers. So they really understand well. So how I invite them is I said, okay, now it's another story time. So they come. They feel like, okay, I'm listening to another story. It's actually a history lesson. It's a history presentation. Or I'm talking about the timeline of Earth, like the history of the Earth. So they're unconsciously getting those subject knowledge in Chinese. And that's the way we actually build up their interest at the same time, expand their Chinese vocabulary.
Yes.
So usually, like when the children move to age 8 or 9, they can really do a deeper research. I do like have a children, we just almost finished the online learning. And he came back the first day. He told me, he said, I really want to do a research about food. I said, food? Where is this coming from? And because we talk about human needs, and then he said, and then I went out to a market. There are many Hong Kong street food. I really want to explore more about it. And they do make a very big poster. And then I think I had a picture about it. And it's like a detail of, they made like detailed information of Hong Kong local food. They even categorize it into healthy ones and unhealthy ones, and what nutrition you can get from the street food. So they are actually not from the Chinese speaking family, but they are using Chinese to do a deep research because they work in groups. So someone is researcher, someone's writer, someone's drawer. They have their own goals and work together. So they do see their learning meaningful because they are not working for an adult or for a group. They work for themselves. So I think that's how we do everything in Chinese, and it's doable. I think we get back to the question we get from the guy. It's doable for the children who do not speak Chinese.
Yeah.
They do learn the subject knowledge in Chinese and get a good understanding.
Perfect. Thank you. We have another question from the audience. Wonderful. Let me just get this up. From another one from Lewin Lee. Thank you very much. Would teaching a second language help or hinder a child who has a very mild speech delay, started combining words at the age of 2? Or should the child be given the time and space to master one language first? Will more than one language be overwhelming, or should the child be exposed to even more languages? I'll let you decide between you three who would like to answer.
Karen? Or
Nancy, do you have?
okay, yeah, because I have the experience of some
please,
children.
yes.
They are encountering either speech delay or overall in general delay. But I do believe dual language is doable in the environment, in especially in this kind of situation.
Okay.
Because of course, mother tongue. What I've encountered is the family was one parent speaks English and the other parent speaks Chinese.
Yes.
Even though the child is experiencing the speech delay, but she's now slowly picking up both altogether. It's not really like single one Chinese or single one only one English. So to me, even though some children are experiencing speech delay, but dual language is always useful. But you need to shorten your sentences. You probably want to start with the vocabulary first.
Yeah.
And then a short sentence, and then a full sentence. You need to take it slowly because you already know the child is experiencing some sort of language delay or speech delay. So you need to take it very slowly and one vocabulary first at a time. Yeah, that would really help.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. We have another question from Fei Yang. For IMS Primary, do you teach the same academic concept in both English and Chinese, or depends which teacher touched the subject with the child? And would it be explained in English first?
Yeah, I think for the primary, as I mentioned, we do have a bilingual curriculum. So English-speaking teacher have their English curriculum. We have our curriculum. How we do that is, yeah, really thankful for that question. I can explain. So how we do that is we have those main topics. It's actually similar. I'm not gonna say exactly the same because the children might touch like the three states of matters. It's a geography concept with the English-speaking teacher the first year, and then they will retouch it, and then it's actually at the third year of primary, and then it's in Chinese. But in a way, they will explore different. For the first year, they just need to know the name of the three states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas. For third year, they want to know the characters of it, so we will do more experiments on it. But it's not always like English first or like Chinese second. It's actually depending on first. We actually depend on a lot. First is children's backgrounds, their interests. We never say no to a children if he really want to touch the third year, like the topic, and we will go for it. So it's never like, that's why we said it's never a glued one. We really like, they want to explore more, then we will go first. And then I will talk with my co-teacher, and then we will mark it and record it. So yeah, so that's how it cooperates together well. And also, it also based on children's prior knowledge and their prior education too, like which language goes first. But we try to make sure like each topic will be touched at least twice in different ways, so that the children will like really get it and they understand it. Just like when they move to upper primary, they will touch another time. So it's later on. So,
Fantastic. Thank you. Again, thank you for all the questions. Keep them coming. We don't have any more questions for the moment, so we'll go back to our topic, which is dual language curriculum at IMS. So what is, I feel like we may have answered this question with the guest questions, but we'll try to combine. What is the IMS program and expectation at every age for Chinese? Hello, Karen.
I'm back. I think I'll just do a broad overview.
Yes.
What do we want for the children? I keep moving the wrong way here.
No, it's perfect. Perfect.
We want every child to learn Chinese, live and learn Chinese to the best of their ability, right? And it's true that if you start very early, whether you have a Chinese background in your family or not, you basically end up being fluent and being able to do reading, writing, speaking, listening, all four areas. So that's why we have, we have these small group Chinese lessons that Ada described. That's a way to allow, so it ends up being very small, very targeted, and everybody learns at their cusp, right? We don't want to bring anybody down to a lower denominator. So in these group lessons, which are literacy based, you're really learning your best Chinese. It can be like a local level, it can be a second language level, and we, because we know the Chinese, we know the children well, we're able to really move them forward.
Yes.
So, what are the expectations? Someone who's been through our system all along, they are really manipulating the language well, comfortable with it. When they go on, our kids mainly go on to the international secondary schools. Almost all the time, they go into the top group in Chinese in these secondary schools, right? So that foundation is very strong.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's that they enjoy it, they want to use it, it's relevant to them, right? What's the point of learning it for so many years if you don't do that?
Absolutely.
And that is the feedback that we get from kids.
Fantastic. Thank you. We have another question from the audience. Do you have reading homework or reading program for Chinese? And this is another question from Mofei Yang.
Reading homework or reading program. I think Ada is the best person to talk about that.
Hi, Ada.
I love talking about reading because I always tell the children and even the parents, textbook is never enough for language. Right? We really do not pick up language from textbook. So reading is especially important. We do have a reading program, but we do not tell the children it's a program, like I said. So we just encourage. We always encourage reading. So we do have school library, and each year we select 50 books, at least for Chinese, so that they can borrow home. And in school, we have those, we call it discussion group. It's actually reading. We call it discussion so that children can talk more. So we read the book together. It's a whole series of books. And then we read with them. So maybe this week we go back home and read chapter 1. And they all go back and come back with questions and come back with some evaluation, and we do the in-class like discussion. So it's mainly in-class in school, and at the same time like homework, like home reading. The home reading is more like the children can choose. I talked with them and said each week you can borrow different books, and each year we recommend 50. Of course it works, like more than 50. I do have a child like, she is age 8, so which is year 2 in the program, and she already read into year 4 our recommended list because she really wants to do that. So we have those reading programs and really encourage that happening at home.
Wonderful. Let me see if I have any more questions from the audience. No, we don't. So we're already going into our last question of today's session. It's been a wonderful session. So if anybody in the audience would like to get a few questions in before we head off. So our final questions, what do you see as the results of your Chinese program in your graduates? We've touched this on various occasions, but I would like to recap, please.
Yes, I think I kind of said
that
just now.
I know.
The results are that we see the children using the language. We hear parent feedback about how much they come away from that retaining what they learned. Right, that's important.
Yeah.
And they go on to their secondary schools. So, for example, we had one child who went to CIS. We actually have quite a lot of children. Our children go to all the different secondary schools, but CIS tends to be one that accepts quite a few because we have a shared Chinese, focus. So we had one child who they have a Hangzhou program at age 15, and this student decided that she would create the yearbook from the whole China experience, obviously in Chinese. So that's like, wow, publicly in Chinese. Those are things that we really value and we see happening. So it was our dream when we started the school in 2002, and now that we have so many graduates, we actually see it coming true through everything that our teachers do, and it's extremely gratifying.
You can imagine. I want to thank you all for joining us in today's chat. It has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I want to thank all our guests and all our viewers for their wonderful questions. Please feel free to continue asking your questions. We will get back to you. Just before we head off, I do want to highlight that IMS has an upcoming campus tour on April 7, 8, and 9. And we'll be including a link in the comments, so you can click that link and you'll go straight to the open day. So if you're interested in learning more about the dual language approach at IMS, this is your perfect opportunity. You can go on 7, 8, and 9th of April. They'll be doing an upcoming campus tour. Very exciting. And before I head off, just a few friendly reminders from Little Steps. We are hosting family movies at the grounds in partnership with the Grounds Hong Kong. So book your tickets before you sell out. And remember, Little Steps is having their 10-year anniversary, new website, and we have the Ritz-Carlton Staycation giveaway. Again, IMS, thank you so much for your time. The audience, thank you so much for your questions. And have a lovely, lovely day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.